Hello and welcome to this. Well, I think it is now the 8th episode of The Moment. We're gonna talk about soil now and like the agricultural shift that needs to happen. Talk a bit about that. I don't know about if any of the two of you, either Neirum or Lynn, want to take it away about soil and why it is needed to I guess change the ways how we do these things.
Go for it, Lynn.
Well, first of all, I think I want to send out some love to the farmers because they're in for a big shift. They have to change a lot of perspective on this. And that takes a lot of courage to do. And it's been done a certain way for a long time, but now scientists are finding that it's not a very long-term a good way to do it. Even though the yields might seem big, the effects on the soil and the environment are not good. So I've listened to Dr. Christine Jones and Elaine Ingham too. They're studied microbiology in soil, and that includes fungus, but also like microorganisms, other of those, and they work together with the plants, so they exchange nutrients and moisture with the plants and help the plants stay healthy. And the current ways of farming, the synthetic farming, in a way you could call it, it damages this microbiology in the soil, which makes the food have less nutrients in it. And it's already pretty far, like it's just 30% of what it used to be. And if we just continue, then soon the food will be just empty and just really just calories and not nutrients in it, other than that much. So that's one reason why this has to change. And yeah, with so many notes, but I don't know where to continue.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll pick it up. Crop rotation. That's a thing people need to start doing. There's a guy in North Carolina that's a big proponent of that. He was on Joe Rogan probably 4 or 5 years ago talking about rotate your crops, dummy. Move your animals around. Don't keep them in one spot where they stomp a mud hole in the ground. And they'll move around. They'll poop over here. You'll grow over here. Then you'll get rid of that crop. Put the animals over there. They'll poop over there. You'll grow the crops just where they pooped last time. Rotate that shit around. That's what old farmers used to do. That's how you get your nutrient replenishment. They, move the animals, move the food, move it, move it, move it, move it. You get the nitrogen and nutrient-rich soil, and you don't deplete your soil over and over and over, like a lot of these factory farms do. A lot of these, Monsanto type people, monoculture type farms. Yeah, we're just eating nothing now. It's nothing. Instead of food saying it's organic, it should say this food is a part of a crop rotation farm. That would be the way that you know for sure that it has 100% of the nutrition inside of it that it's supposed to have. We got to get very specific with our terminology, and what we mean by organic. What does that mean? Is this organic food, um, part of these crop rotated farm techniques? Yeah. So that's how I would follow up with that. That is the solution. That is the thing to do. That's the only way you can really run a farm without it dying in 20 years or having really pale leaves or um, you know low yield crops.
Yeah. And another thing about this microbiology in the soil is like how to protect it is to not till the soil, so not turn it over a lot and not like expose it to sunlight too much. So to have cover crops on it, if you're not growing anything for yourself on it, it still is better that something is growing there, because that also keeps the soil alive and
Yeah.
helps to keep the water there too, so it doesn't dry, and in that way you can use mulch too. Another thing about the way it's done now is that they use pesticides and stuff like that, and yeah, it's bad because it also kills the beneficial insects, and we would really like need to have habitat for the beneficial insects and birds, and that would help to then keep away the insects that are harmful for the crops.
Yeah.
Another thing is like to not have the monocropping, so only one thing, huge areas, but instead to have diverse different plants live together, and that helps also against some pests because then they won't spread like through the whole big area, but it's just because usually pests are specialized to some specific plant, so then you won't lose your whole yield, you will just lose a part of it if
Yeah.
something happens.
Yeah, I've been talking to some other friends about this concept of 90-degree angles and living within dead houses and driving around dead vehicles. Because once we rode on horses. We lived in harmony with nature in a way, but now we're like hyper obsessed with necromancy is basically what it is. Like we're all necromancers, taking dead rocks and trying to animate them into living AI machines. It's just like, oh, this is the greatest idea ever, right? Like, no. And that kind of segues into this idea of total control and just this monocropping of everything. Uh, these 90-degree angle fields and all of this dead soil, and then they're like trying so hard with all these pesticides and chemicals and genetic modification to create something alive in a way out of death, out of this dead soil. It seems to be the dominating obsessive um, mentality of society right now. this form of necromancy, making something out of death, and it's not working. It's ridiculous. It doesn't work. People seem to be disgusted with life. They seem to have some kind of aversion from even crop rotation. They're like, oh, I can science that out. I can figure that out. I can necromancy my way out of that problem. And you can't. You can't. It's a ridiculous notion, but I think that at the root is what we're fighting against. Is that these concepts of necromancy, of trying to make stuff work out of death, out of just dead, sterile soil. And if people can start to see that's what it is and how ridiculous it is, maybe there'll be some traction, because it just, when you go, driving out in Indiana and all you see is corn, 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 corn. It's kind of weird. It's really strange. It's not normal. And it's not good. It's really lame, in fact. It's you could have all kinds of other stuff. You could be growing all kinds of things. We got a real problem with corn. Corn seems to be the end-all be-all solution to humanity's problems. They're like, just grow enough corn. You'll figure it out. You can make sugar out of it. You can make fuel. You can make food. Because this corn syrup is in absolutely everything. What's with the corn? Like, what, can we get some other things going on here? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What is with the corn? It's like the children of the corn, right? You ever seen that movie? How they're just all like these weird possessed aliens that, I don't know. They're all about the corn, man.
Yeah.
It's just, I feel like that's what we're dealing with, is just the children of the corn. They're, oh, you don't like corn? What's wrong with you? Well, you don't like my corn? Like, yeah, man. I like tomatoes and, cucumbers too. Like, what's wrong with you? What are you on about the corn for?
Yeah. I don't know. Like, for me, all of this really, I don't know. Like, when thinking about like what you put it there with like the necromancy and these things, it makes me kind of think about like the queen of hearts from Alice in Wonderland.
Off with her head. Yeah.
And it's just, yeah, but I guess it's just that type of mentality, I guess. But yeah, but with regards to soil, I mean, it's, I feel also one thing that they don't seem to like, I don't know, maybe they know it, but it's just not being used because of the type of methods or something that are being like pushed or whatever, for whatever reason, really. But it's like, you have these type of like bacteria and soil biology too that produces antibiotics and keeps the plants healthy. And
right,
yeah, and then I'm just like, there's all this wonder here already, and you don't need to create anything really, or force anything any particular way. But it's like, it's already all there. All the magic is already there. You just have to like look at it and notice it, and I guess harness that magic for your own good.
Good.
Yeah, I don't know about the wording harness something. Maybe work together with it, or work in harmony with it, or something like that.
Yeah, maybe that's a better thing, but better way of phrasing it, working together with it. but it needs to be allowed to exist though, for real.
Yes.
So it can they can, or like, I don't know, I guess they can, maybe with the harness, I mean, really like, I don't know, that they work together and can reap the benefits of nature being nature. That they can see, like, that it's nature can do wonderful things for them too. It's not just all pests, and we just need to exterminate all of this stuff and dominate all of it, and then we use these chemicals and all this other shit to pump into it. Because it's to like, yeah. But at the same time, I kind of also feel like a lot of this is also a lot of pressure with regarding to like pressure on the farmers to produce and get as much like crop out, so that they can afford being a farmer. Because I think that's something that's also really going on.
Yeah, and then you have also the, what do you call those, regulations, and then you also have the fact that not everyone has land who wants to farm, which is like a lot of young people would want to farm, but then where to get the land that they can afford so they can start. I mean, even like to get
About that part,
a,
because that's
a
a very,
little.
very good point, is that there's not enough land to go around right now. There probably is if we would allocate it and make it cheaper or whatever. That'd be the solution. Make it cheaper. Get it out of the hands of, the railroad and timber companies, and allow families to develop it into farmland. Like, have an initiative to where, like, hey, there's too many people living in the city. There's not enough people that live off the land and are having families live off the land. Let's try to fix that. That would be great if our governments were concerned about that. But it's like they want the opposite, which is scary. But anyway, okay, let's talk about what we can do about that. We have invented some things that we can use, like the hydroponics setup. It's not soil, but you can make your own like nutrient broth and integrate it into the water and start growing your own crops that way. I know a lot of people that have been very successful with that. There's a guy that lives around me. He has these like 30-foot tall vertical hydroponic towers, and he grows all kinds of food, and he sells these salads that are delicious. They taste really good, and they're nutrient rich because he, used all these beakers and whatnot and measured out the nutrient content, and it's going directly into that water that's being absorbed by the plants. And I do kind of have a problem with getting away from the soil and getting away from the earth, but it's better than nothing. And you can introduce some microbiology and put some different types of you can create your own ecosystem. You can take pieces of the real dirt and put it into the water and kind of simulate, well, not simulate, you can, what do you call it, transplant part of the earth into these hydroponic systems. And I think that's what we're probably going to have to do, as a human species. We're going to have to circumvent our way out of that land problem if we're wanting to eat. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's all I've got to say on that. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I guess that could be part of it. Sounds interesting. I haven't tried that myself. But yeah, also like container gardening. If you don't have
Oh
your
yeah,
own land,
that's true.
you can still do that on a windowsill or on a balcony or something. Or if someone you know has land, you could ask them if you could do something on their land. If you
Right.
don't have your own land again. So there's still ways to grow food even though if you don't have your own land.
Right. Here, I'll show you guys my setup. It's a mess. I haven't had time to fool with it. I need to find time to fool with it. But it's just this little PVC setup, and then you get this bucket here, and you fill it full of nutrients, and then you pump it through all of these pipes, and then plants start sprouting up out of each of these holes in there, and then they're held in here by these the seed is held in this little sponge thing, and the plant is kind of sitting in this thing. This for smaller stuff, but they have versions with like bigger holes where you can like grow tomatoes and strawberries and stuff like that. Maybe you can do it with this. I don't know. I haven't tried. I need to get on the ball and start fooling with my hydroponic setup.
Looks cool. I like to see it when it's in use too.
Yeah, I need to do that. Probably this week. I need to actually do it.
Mm-hmm.
I've had it set up and built for a little bit, and just other stuff happens, and I don't have time. I don't put the time into it that I should be. But I have a garden outside.
Mm-hmm.
I was just kind of wanting to do it as an experiment and see if I can like start growing things all year round instead of just seasonally, like what I have to do, outside. And that's another cool advantage to it. It's inside with your HVAC system, and it's got a regulated temperature, and I've got these UV lights that I can use, and I can also open the window to get real sunlight. It's very interesting to me. I need to dive into it and actually see what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Yeah. But yeah, yeah. I think coming back to like the stuff regarding the soil and well, and the land too. In that sense, it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, what do we do about that?
Like what how is it going to be solved? I mean, like you have like Sadhguru going around talking about soil and trying to get people to talk about soil and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, that's a good start, I would say.
Yeah,
But like, yeah, I think it's like, yeah, it's kind of twofold with regarding to like the stuff, and I think like a lot of stuff is also like, yeah, regulations and all kinds of other things preventing farmers from experimenting and doing certain things. It's like this one farmer, I don't know, it's like some years ago that I saw in Spain, I think it was, that used like didn't use pesticides but used nettle juice, and grew like other plants in between his plants that he was growing, that it would stay there throughout the year. And he was getting a lot of flack for that from like the government that was there, because he was not growing things and doing things regarding like, well, accordingly to these regulations and stuff. I think that's kind of also very stifling. It's like, there are these farmers that wanna innovate and do things differently and realize these things, but then they kind of get stifled by regulation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, really. maybe we have to do it then, like, as just not as a business, but just like as a homestead or something like that, where there is really just your own rules, basically, and as long as you don't, well, I don't know, the rules there are just so weird and crazy that they have in effect that, yeah, I don't know what to do about that. Too many rules, and they're too detached from reality and from what actually works and what's like long term good for the planet and for people. And yeah.
The problem is a lot of people want that. They want the government to tell them what to do. They're afraid to go out into nature. The city is like a womb, and they don't want to be born. You know, they want to just stay in there and be connected to the umbilical cord and have everything done for them. And they want to eat their corn. Don't take my corn away. And you know, we start talking about this type of stuff, and it really starts to freak them out. You know, they're like, well, what are they saying? Tomatoes, cucumbers? No, that's not corn. You know, how are we going to do that? You got to do it yourself. And they're like, oh, no, I don't have time to do that. I have an 80-hour work week. You know, I have to pay off my $400,000 townhouse. You know, why would I want to farm? You know, why would I want my kid? You're trying to make my kids farmers? Kid's going to be a lawyer and a doctor. Shut up. My kid's not going to be a farmer. You know, there's like this thing where you're stupid if you're a farmer. Oh, you're a dumb farmer. You should get a city job and be really intelligent. You know, that's the other part of it. That's what we're fighting against, is the sentiment that you're an idiot retard if you're a farmer, and you're only smart if you eat corn. That's it. I mean, I wish it was more complicated than that, but it's really not any more complicated than that. That's the
yeah.
Yeah.
I have one thing to say to those people. That was like, doesn't matter how smart you are if you run out of food.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You run out of food, your brain, no work brain.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's where these things are, like, I don't know, like kind of taken for I don't know, it's like the city people are taking all of this with the food and all these things coming in like for granted or something. That there are
Yeah.
these farmers, but you know, also one thing, I saw something, I think it was like the UN or something, or some other source that was saying about like how for every like 8 farmers that are going with pension, there's only one young farmer that's starting to replace basically that farmer, and that they're basically like yeah, there are not enough farmers. But I think that kind of mentality of hating on farmers, and if you're a farmer you're stupid, and all these regulations and all these other things are making it like more and more difficult to be a farmer and to grow
Yeah.
food. And it's like you said, it's like, you know, they want everyone to be in the cities and stuff like that. But the thing is, like, we need to grow food. If we do not grow food, what do you think we're going to eat? It's like, I don't know, man.
Yeah. Very,
Yeah.
very true point.
You're gonna eat books. They're gonna eat books. Bees, go away, bees. I'm trying to smoke a cigarette out here on my porch. There's all kinds of bees around me. I like bees, but I don't like them near me. Go out amongst the flowers. You see the bee? Oh well.
Oh well. Yeah.
There are some bees.
Yes. They probably know we're talking about soil. They're like,
Yeah,
yes,
we're talking about soil to make more flowers,
yes,
Mr. Bee.
Mr. B. Yes.
I actually think it's a honeybee. Where'd it go? It disappeared now that I'm talking about it. There it is. There's the bee flying around. Speak of the bee and the bee will appear.
Yeah,
I did have
we really do need to protect the bees too, and have habitat for them, and not use the pesticides, because the populations of pollinators have been dropping dangerously much. A lot of food is pollinated still, so yeah, we really need those insects.
yeah.
And also, we're losing topsoil with the
Oh, you know what
current,
the
like
city
the
people are
current
going to do?
way
They're
of
going to make
farming.
mechanical bees.
Oh, they already did, but it's not the
Yeah,
same.
it's true. No, it's not as smart as a real bee. That's the problem.
Yeah.
All these city people think that they have the perfect plan and they're going to make everything perfect, and it's like nature's already done it. You just got to like listen and watch the seasons and see what happens. That's the easiest way to do it. People are literally insane now. They're just insane. They're like, "Oh yeah, we're
Mm.
going to clone ourselves and we're going to download our brains into a machine and we're going to do whatever we want. We're going to be gods, right? We're going to make the mechanical bees when we kill all the regular ones." Like, okay, you're crazy. You sound how you listening to how crazy you sound? Just got to start calling them crazy and making fun of them. That's what we got to do. That's why they don't like farmers. Farmers are out here doing real stuff, and we're making fun of all these stupid city people. And then the city people think they're smarter and better than us, and it's not true. How smart are you if you're killing everything and you're doing this necromancy, and you think it's better to live in a dead world than a living one? Weird.
Yeah,
Really.
I don't know, like what would help really. Is there any way to get to these people? I
Just
don't
make
know
fun
if
of them.
making fun of them. I don't know if that helps either, to be honest.
Well,
But yeah.
when you shame and ridicule people, like they do to the farmers, think of what the city people do. They've been shaming and ridiculing farmers and people that live off the land forever, really, since the beginning of time. The Romans even did this. They called them barbarians. And what did that do? That got people to stop doing that. So, yeah, do it back to them. And then maybe somebody will be like, "Oh, I don't want to be a city person. I don't want to be a stupid city slicker. I want to live off the land and I want to be alive and I want to live in harmony with nature." That's smart. So that's why I say that. I've just heard it I've gotten so much shit for saying what I say.
Mhm.
I'm ready to give them back some of their own shit and say, start a farm with this shit.
Well, at that point, it's more like you're mirroring back to them what they've been slinging at you,
Yeah.
which is kind of like just the law of nature.
Yeah. See which one sticks, you know.
Well, the
Just
way they're
city
doing it, it's not
people have
gonna work
a
very long.
very, very weak argument. Very weak. No, it's not going to work. It's not working now.
Mm.
You saw what happened with all those
No.
trucker protests. they all started freaking the fuck out that they couldn't get their food delivered from the stupid farmers. And then what did they do? They took they froze all the truckers' bank accounts and forced them to go back to work. So I say take all your money out of the bank, get some gold and some silver, and start only accepting gold and silver as payment for your food, and not use money anymore. And don't use a bank. Your money is much safer in your house. Everybody has this idea that your money is safe in the bank. These people in the bank take your money, gamble it, and they make a lot more money off of your savings account than you do. And you're not privy to any of the money that they make. In fact, they charge you to keep your money in their bank that they use to gamble with. It's ridiculous. And then they can control you and force you to do stuff because you're like, oh, I don't want my bank account frozen. I better do what the government tells me to do. No, you don't need to do that. Get some gold, get some silver, start, buying and selling things with that only, because that's what money's based off of anyway. Is supposedly was gold originally. And you see all these stupid commercials all the time on the TV says, we buy gold, we'll buy all your gold. Don't sell your gold to these people. Keep your gold. Make it into the cool little coins. And I really like this concept that's come up recently. It's called a gold back. It's it looks like a dollar bill, but it's laced with gold, with a certain amount of gold in it that you can weigh and figure out. And I think people should use that as currency, instead of carrying around a bunch of coins, because a gold coin is worth a lot of money. But a little sliver of gold in a piece of paper or a piece of cotton, you could use that just like real money. That would be much better. So it's a huge problem. There's a lot of problems that need to be addressed. And one of the first ones is all of these truckers that everybody talks shit about and thinks is so stupid. They need to get their money out of the banks and start using gold and silver. Then they can't have their arm twisted around to do this, that, or the other thing. They'll have freedom. They'll actually have the freedom to do whatever they want. Like if they want to have a protest, they can have a protest. And then people have to take them seriously. But now nobody takes them seriously because, they have their money tied up in the banks, and they're legitimately afraid that their children will starve or they'll lose their house. What else can they do other than do what the government tells them to do?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, but then I guess coming back to soil now. I don't know. I think with regards to soil and the land and all of that, it's also just that I don't know. I kind of also like it's nice with like hydroponics and these things, and I think that's probably for some time, like maybe something that can be done, that can be like added to it so that you have something to eat and stuff like that. But like long term, I think like the soil is needed because it really is just like that. It really is a form of necromancy, and you really have that there. It's not just destroying the I guess like the soil of the regarding to like farmland, but it's affecting much more. And I think like overall, like there should be, one should take better care of the soil, even like just surrounding the fields, too. That you do something to like keep the soil there, and make sure that there's overall like something going on. I mean, they used to in the past have like very big like I don't know like I don't know, like a row or like a fence. You could call it a fence, maybe a fence of plants. It's like a hedge, yeah, like a
Yeah.
hedge of like all kinds of diverse plants they would have there. The farmers would do that because those plants had like would attract birds, and all kinds of other insects could live there, and then they could keep the crops safe. And all kinds of other stuff like that used to be done. But the thing is, like, they don't do it anymore because, well, I have here my automated machine that I'm using, and this is, or like, this getting, it's too much of a nuisance to get in the way. But it's not a nuisance; it's a highly important.
Yeah, it is. But that's why I was bringing up the stuff about the truckers and the banks. The thing that has to be done to get the soil, because we don't have it right now, is you have to take away the money and the power from Monsanto and these monoculture farms. If the truckers were actually able to do what they wanted to do, these places would start to go bankrupt, and then they would sell this land. They wouldn't need it anymore. They wouldn't have anybody to sell their corn to because there's not a trucker to deliver it to the city. It would start to die out. It's not able to die out and naturally go towards something more natural, because of how much control the banks have over working class people. That so that's why I say it's going to take a lot more steps to get to that point, because people want this already. A lot of people probably agree with what you guys are saying, but there's no way to it because of how they control all this money and how they can just twist people's arm behind their back and make them do whatever the hell they want and scare the shit out of them, because people's number one priority is going to be their kids, and they will do evil shit to make sure their kids are fed and clothed and in school, and that they have heat for their homes, and they can pay their taxes so they don't get their home taken away. We have to fundamentally change how we do business with each other and leave these mega corporations out, and then they'll start to wither and die. They need us to be compliant with this craziness, with this new world order sort of globalist future type of stuff. So that's why I correlate that directly with this soil that we have to get our hands on. Because you're right, it's probably not that good just to do hydroponics. It is much healthier for a family to have their own land, their own space. They're not crowded by a bunch of neighbors. There's a whole lot to it, to this soil conversation that is necessary for us to have a nice future with each other, rather than being aggravated in apartment buildings, trying to have a little box garden on what little piece of property we do own, because that you need quite a bit of soil in order to feed your family year round. And people need a proper amount and space to operate in and to grow a family. So yeah, that's why I correlate all that stuff together. That has to happen. Yeah.
What you said about gold also made me think about like exchange of goods for goods. So it would be like different vegetables for other vegetables or something like that.
Yeah.
Could be part of the thing too. Or whatever you would have to trade.
I've messed around with bartering, and there are advantages and disadvantages to bartering. One of the advantages is you get to know people that you probably wouldn't talk to previously. You network with all kinds of people. You start to really meet each other. Part of it is it takes a lot of and time and effort into it because of style. That a lot of people would
Neirum,
dive into
you're
easily, like
breaking
the
up.
silver or but as you can get, and maybe you grow something you wouldn't use something. Let me switch back to this thing. Can you hear me now? Is it working now? Okay, cool. Oh yeah, okay, bartering. You might with bartering, you might have to grow some stuff or do a task that you might not normally want to do, in order to trade with somebody that needs that thing to get the thing that they need. But as I said, that is also a downside because that takes up a whole lot more time. And I think it needs to be a blend, or whatever people want to do. That's why I say the gold and silver. That gives people the freedom to do whatever the hell they want, instead of being bogged down with, oh, I got to grow more tomatoes because Bob down the road doesn't have them, but he has some horses that I want or whatever, or some pigs or chickens that I can get, but he won't take anything except tomatoes. So I've got to get that, and I got to spend all this extra time to do that. So, but like I said, it has its advantages and disadvantages.
Maybe for some things, but not for everything.
Right.
Yeah. But with regards to soil, what I do know is that I think it was like in there are multiple countries really, and in multiple countries that they started to look into like permaculture and food forests and stuff like that for like an alternative for like your regular like monocrop farming too. And I think I also there saw something about like that some of them were looking into like introducing like mushrooms and mycelium into it. I think you had said some while ago, Neirum, that you knew some stuff about mushrooms and mycelium and stuff like that.
Mushrooms are wonderful in that. Mushrooms are wonderful in that they have this mycelial network where they communicate with the plants, they communicate with the trees, and they are kind of like mediators of biochemistry in the soil and help facilitate communication between all these different plants, and help them produce things that they need nutrition wise or even chemically, to help defend them against certain dangers in the biochemistry of the soil, and facilitate wonderful ecological growth, like and biome stability. And if you're constantly tilling up all of the soil and doing the monoculture and the pesticides, yeah, it kills all that. It's a multifaceted problem that requires just what nature will do naturally if you leave it the hell alone and you just stick to crop rotation. That is the solution for the soil. That it'll just fix itself. There's not really anything that we need to specifically do about it. You can accelerate it. You can introduce spores and grow these mushrooms very quickly and do all that stuff. But how do we know what mushrooms need to be there? We might end up doing more harm than good rather than just kind of leaving it alone for a few years and then revisiting that soil later, and trying to do what we do. Yeah.
Well, the best thing, of course, is like to use local mushrooms if you have some project that you want to add something to. But yeah, it's always depends on the location and the specific site.
Yeah. You could take some fallen logs from somewhere in close to the forest where you're trying to grow stuff, and just kind of throw them around on the ground, because they're already inoculated with all these different spores that are in that area. That's why dead logs are growing all these mushrooms and moss and all this crazy stuff on them. That could be a natural way that you could accelerate that process. Just kind of move the dead wood around into these sterilized areas to try to recolonize it with life. They got all the nice little bugs in there, and and also ants. The ants carry these microbes and different bacteria as they dig down underneath the ground, and the different centipedes and worms that are in these dead logs. A dead log is actually not dead. It's very much alive with a whole lot of other things. It's like a little apartment building, I guess, or something for life. That's the cool thing about it. Even with something dead, life finds a way to animate it and feed off of it and make it useful.
Dead dead trees are home for many critters, and
Yeah,
it's important to have some dead trees around in a
yeah,
woodland for the ecosystem to work properly.
yeah,
Yeah, and then I don't know, for me it then kind of starts to make sense with like how people in the past had like these hedges and they with these trees and the different things in there, and like just imagine that you have that there next to your field and you would leave that dead wood there, and that like what that would yeah, what that would do if you would have that life there, if you would have that like border there around around the field that can bring back life,
yeah,
and then the no tilling, and to like try to like treat the I guess the yeah, the microbiology well, and then you can like yeah work together with it, and it's like yeah, I don't know, like I feel like it should be about like kind of the farmer working together with nature instead of trying to constantly work against it by doing these chemicals and all these other things. It's like, but I think that a lot of farmers know this stuff, but that they're just under a lot of pressure, and then there's like Monsanto and these types too, and like, yeah,
they're afraid they'll lose all their money, which
yeah,
they will if they start doing this the natural way. Because they get this subsidy money from the government for doing monoculture. They don't get this money for doing crop rotation. You don't get rewarded for doing things the right way. And I don't know how you can change that around, unless you can start twisting their arm, and having a little more autonomy yourself to make your own decisions outside of what the government's dictating to you about all this monoculture kind of stuff. Yeah. It's got to start somewhere with taking back control of what money means to the farmer. That way that they can't get bullied into doing this stuff, because that's exactly what it is. They're getting bullied into doing this stuff. And I can't blame them. I can't tell them, go starve, let yourself lose your farm and your house, and let your kids go hungry. I can't tell them that. There has to be a way to break free away from the control these banks have over people. Because that's the bottom line of why stuff doesn't happen. That's what is stopping it. These people want to do it. They talk about it. They know that it's not good for them, not good for their farm. But it's not even their farm. It's like the government's farm that's paying for it through these subsidies. And these farms have to be so huge, and they have to have these huge combines to pay for, again, by subsidies. The way forward is really downsizing, where farmers have smaller farms that they can reasonably take care of with their family and produce, and just have more farmers having smaller farms working together.
And more perennial plants like berry bushes and trees.
But they cannot do that, because unless they have a big 200-acre farm, they don't get any help. And they're too afraid to let go of that, And I don't blame them, So there has to be a way out for them. There needs to be a back door for them, because then they'll do it, and they'll be. I mean, I'm not going to say they'll be happier like Klaus Schwab says, you'll be happier and own nothing, but I reasonably deduce that they would be happier. I think it would. It kind of makes sense to me. You have less stuff to take care of. You're growing different plants. You're more involved with your family. You don't need a bunch of strangers coming onto your farm, operating this huge machinery the size of a barn. And you're more connected to the earth. But, what do I know? Maybe they love it. Maybe they love it. They want to do it all day long for the globalists. I don't know, but for some reason, I doubt that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like it kind of like makes me feel also, made me think about something that my grandpa had said about it, because I talked to my grandpa about it, and he had said that there were farmers outside of the city where he's living in the Netherlands. They were putting out signs that well, they were about to go with pension, and they had no one who wanted to do the farming, and also about like signs saying that the farmers are needed, and different, all different signs like that as well. And yeah, I think that it's yeah. Honestly, I think like that all the government involvement and like all that involvement of these other interests and stuff into it are more a hindrance than that it brings anything good in that sense. I don't know, like maybe um maybe we need, I don't know, like cut out the fucking the middleman. We need to start buying food directly from farmers or something. Be like, fuck you, fuck all of you, and we're gonna
Yeah.
just buy it directly from the farmer. That's where we're going, and we're gonna support our local farmers and try to support them throughout the period in which they transition, and be like, fuck you, Monsanto, fuck you, and then just help them do it the way that they actually want to do it, and help maybe people downsize and help other farmers to do farming. So we also have like more like younger farmers getting their farms going. Because like you said, like yeah, it doesn't need to be all like God knows how big and that yeah. Because there are a lot of like from what I've seen, like a lot of like boomer farmers that going there like, oh, I'm this boomer farmer here on my tractor and stuff like that. But you know they're getting old too, and like they're taken for granted that they're all
Yeah.
out like the boomer farmer on his tractor and stuff. But you know, yeah, I don't know. I kind of feel like they've been kind of by the system taken for granted, and they've been twisted into all of this weird shit. And it's been I don't know, becoming so far removed from what farming used to be, that it used to be more connected to the soil and to like the rhythms of nature.
Yeah. I mean, thankfully, there is, that is in the zeitgeist. Buy local, support your local farmers, um, and people do that. Uh, so I think it is changing slowly, um, and maybe everything we're talking about is already happening, for all I know. But hang on just a second. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Had somebody visit my house real quick and had to go talk to them.
Yeah. No, of course. Can have a bit of a break. I was just grabbing some water myself. But yeah, like with all these things going on, it's like, yeah. But yeah, I think that with the soil, it's like definitely a very very important um, issue, and like you're correct with like Monsanto and all these other interests that are trying to twist the farmers' hand to do it a certain way, and government rules or like, well, EU rules in like Europe too, for instance, or so like precise. I looked into like regarding like a tree nursery because Lynn had looked into it too, and I just didn't believe it. So I was like looking at it, and then I saw, and I was just like, "Fuck!" They had written down how to grow trees. Basically, they like a tree needs to grow exactly this way with like with these many leaves like this, and then like they described it to a fucking detail, and I was just like, this is just way too rigid. It's like way too rigid for nature. It's like everything needs to be squares, and everything needs to be fitting in this like cookie cutter shape, and it's like that's not how nature is. Nature is wiggly.
Wiggly. It's all wiggly. I like that video Alan Watts did where he's out there drinking tea and he's talking about nature's wiggly, you know, and we're all trying to be, you know, squares. I'm like, yeah, pretty much, man.
Yeah, and I just wanted to just quickly just say, like, you know, and then I really wonder, like, what to do with regard to, like, not just the soil, but like with the land and the younger farmers who want to take over from like the old generation that are there and can't, because shit just costs way too much, and like they don't want to be like a working like a serf for Monsanto. And I mean, I get it. It's like, you know, these people don't want to be like that, and I can
There
really
is a
get it.
way.
Hmm.
There is a way, but people don't want to do it because they think it's evil. All these kids need to get into the stock market, and they need to start buying stocks of companies that they believe in, and that will drive down the market value of these companies they don't like. They can vote with their dollar. We need to get involved with the economy. Otherwise, people start having violent thoughts and thinking there must be violence to take care of this. No. Get into the stock market, and if you have millions of these kids getting in the stock market, buying and trading stocks for stuff they believe in, it'll destroy it. Use their system against them. All you got to do is educate yourself. Get yourself an E-Trade account and start day trading to start out with, and then get yourself a diversified portfolio where you have short-term investments and long-term investments, and use it against them. But all these people talking about, you know, nature and everything, they think money's evil. Money's evil. It's the root of all evil. No, the love of money is the root of all evil. You don't need to love the money. Just use the money. Use it to your advantage and drive down the stock value, the share value of Monsanto. Look at what people did with GameStop. They did it as a joke, right? Look at how much power they held in their hands, the young people. Do that with the farms. We all need to get our shit together and put our heads together and start using the system to our advantage. That's not illegal. There's nothing wrong with that. And there's nothing they can do about that. If everybody takes it by storm and makes it happen, you could turn this whole motherfucker around within a year. Or within a quarter of a year. But they don't want to do that. They're like, oh, it's evil. The money, it's evil. If I have money, I'm evil. I must be as poor as possible, and that's the only way I can be with nature. No. That's exactly how we're going to lose. That's exactly how we're all going to lose our soil. We've got to get into this stuff and start doing it, and that's exactly what they don't want us to do. You know, that they kind of push these movies, this music, this ideology of the hippy dippy, have nothing, you'll be happy. No, you can have it all. You can do it. It can happen. People just got to start talking about it and teaching each other how to work within the stock market, because that's what these people are doing. You know, every day they're getting up at 9 o'clock when the stock market opens in America anyway, and they're buying and selling and buying and selling, and they're making the market into what they want while everybody else is asleep, while everybody else is doing something else to their disadvantage. All you got to do is look at these funny little graphs with wiggly lines on them and change the wiggles. That's it. It'll all come apart on them. It's really that easy. As we saw with the GameStop incident. What do? They started to flip the fuck out, and they shut down trading. They shut their websites down. The Robinhood website, they shut it down. They started to flip the fuck out. They're like, oh no, they figured the stock market out. What do we do? What do we do? What do we do? If people get real serious about it instead of like a joke, you can do it. You can do it. But people aren't serious enough about it. They don't want to really figure out what the root of the problem is. That's it. And that's just one thing. That one thing would be extremely powerful to do, though. Just that one thing. And then you could do this thing and the other thing, and we could all have it. We could all do it. We could all do what we're talking about right here and now. But it involves doing something other than worrying about the soil. We have to have the soil in our hands first. And it takes those steps to get to that point. It totally happened.
I really don't know anything about the stock market.
It would take you less than a week to learn everything about it. It's not as complicated as they make it out to be. They want people to think it's so super complicated. Oh, it's trigonometry. No, it's not. You have some money. You see a company that you believe in and you like. You invest in it. You have a share of that company, and you're able to do stuff. Now, some cool companies, like Elon Musk and the Tesla company, he will send people that own shares of it letters to have them vote on stuff that the company does. Invest in companies that do that. You don't necessarily have to invest in Tesla or whatever, because I don't think the electric car really has a future because of the blood lithium. Like how you have blood diamonds, lithium is the same way. A lot of people are dying in those awful mines in Africa. It's not a good, I don't believe in electric is the future, because after these batteries crap out on you, it's cheaper to buy a new car than replace the battery pack. So you're going to have a bunch of Teslas laying around in junkyards, and that's not green. Okay. Same with wind turbines. They don't replace the components in the wind turbines. It's cheaper to just build a new one and abandon that wind farm. So now you have all these abandoned wind farms that's taking up the soil that we could be using, and that's not green. That's not green technology. It's not working. Stuff like the Stirling engine that I believe I've shown you guys before is the future. A temperature differential engine that used to run locomotives back in the 1800s. There's already this technology that exists, but people think they got to look to the future. We got to have fusion. We got to have solar panels. We got to have Teslas. No, you don't. You can have a Stirling engine car, and it doesn't use any oil. It does, other than lubrication to make the parts move. And it doesn't require anybody dying. Doesn't require any little kids dying in a lithium mine or somebody fighting over that. That's green. That's the future that we all talk about that we want.
Yeah. I personally don't really know anything about like I guess the stock market and these things much either. I think I used to have, but like I didn't take care of it. It was like my dad or something like that. But yeah, So I really wouldn't know about that. But
Just jump into it. You'll figure it out. You can start with penny stocks. You know, you don't have to use thousands of dollars. Just kind of get in there, get to know what the trend is. The most amount of trading happens around 9 o'clock, and then 4 o'clock before it closes, because the stock market's only open from 9 to 5 Eastern Standard Time here in America. It's the New York Stock Exchange. And that's where they ring that bell. They go ding, 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 ding. It's like stock market's open, stock market's closed. That's so really 2 hours of your day, you could be making $500 a day by just trading stocks. You know, and making the world that you want to see by just sitting at your computer and taking, you know, less than a week to learn how it works and what to do. Then all this shit turn around. It'll happen, because that's the system that they use to force us to do shit that we don't like.
Yeah, I do know about like the whole GameStop incident, but it was like, you know, the big effect was that there were so many people suddenly starting to buy stock when it was going down, because they were like forcing the traders were trying to like force a GameStop down. They did some trick to like basically make it all lose a lot of money, and then they were suddenly everyone started to buy the stock up, and then suddenly it rose up, and it was actually costing the traders money because of the trick that used. I looked into it back when it like happened, stuff like that. But yeah. I don't know, but maybe in some way I would say, like, you know, like that we could like I guess like support the farmer if some person wants to, I guess, support those company by buying stocks or something, or maybe more directly try to like not buy the shit from the companies that we don't like and that are pushing this shit, if we can, of course.
It's really that simple. I mean, you say you don't understand the stock market. You just explained it to me. That's it. It's not any more complicated than that. If you want a company to have more value, buy their stock. It becomes more valuable. If you don't like them, sell your stock. It drops. It goes down, and then other people don't want to invest in it. And that's it. That's what they're doing. They're looking at these squiggles on their screen, these charts of the stock market, of their value, and these trends, and they'll go with whoever is buying more stock of something. And that's it, because they want that value. And it will become a more stable market for that, or it'll become a more stable company the more people that are invested in it. And it'll become a more expensive piece of stock. Or share. That's the term. It'll become a more expensive share. But yeah, I hate to keep talking about the money on and on. I know we're talking about soil, but that's how we get the soil. That's what has to happen. Everybody has to learn how it is that they're stuck in an apartment and they can't go afford and buy a farm. Find out the companies that are buying up all the land and have had this land locked up, keeping it from the young people. Take the money away from them. They're going to be forced to sell their land to appease their investors, and that's when you can buy it. You can control the market. You can control the value of the land, And then that's when you can step in and get your soil in your hands and start doing all this stuff in soil reclamation and crop rotation and doing things the way you want to do things. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. It's just going to be talk. People are just going to still be stuck in their apartment with no dirt in their hands, just concrete jungle everywhere, having to have a little box garden. And at the same time, you'll be making a lot of money sitting at your computer just clicking and taking the money away from these bad people and giving it to the good people and voting with your dollar or whatever money you guys have, the euro or whatever. But yeah, that's why I keep hammering away at that. That's the way out. And it solves multiple problems at the same time. You'll get the money to buy the land will become cheaper, and then everybody gets what they want. Yep. Even that bad people, because they're selling you the land and they're still getting the money, and that's all they care about is the money. They just think that's the only way they can get it is by, fooling everybody. But once people become educated in this, they're going to start making their own money, and then they're going to be like, we're not making any money fucking over everybody and all the young people. We're going to have to create a new company that people want to invest in because they're aware of this now and they're doing it, so we better do it or otherwise they're going to be in the poorhouse. But anyway, I'll stop talking about money and all that. I think I made my point, and I just wanted to illustrate that because I think that will help a lot of what we're talking about.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just think that it's kind of difficult sometimes to tell, like with companies, like if they have greenwashed or care washed, like we care about stuff and stuff, but they might say it, but it might not be true anyways. So you really have to look into it properly.
You do. Well, that's what investing in the stock market is you're researching, you're even calling people up on the phone, you're even going to the place that they have their business and seeing it for yourself. That's all part of investing in the stock market the smart way, figuring it out, getting down deep into it and talking to these people and be like, hey, I'm interested in investing in your company, can you give me a tour? They'd be more than happy to. And then if you YouTubed it with your phone and said, I want to show other people that are interested in investing, I'm part of an investment group, and why not? Why can't you be part of an investment group and be young? You totally can. That's absolutely possible. Be like, I'm going to show the other investors that are interested what's going on here. Everybody on YouTube has access to that tour and seeing what's really going on. Then stuff changes, and it's really that easy. It's just getting involved with stuff that we might not think has anything to do with what we're talking about with soil, but it does. It's absolutely connected and correlated with what we're talking about to get the dirt in your hands. But anyway, what else do you have in you guys' notes? You said you took a lot of notes on stuff. We'll get away from the money talk now. Let's assume people do what we're talking about here, and they're getting the soil in their hands. What can they do with this soil?
Yeah, well, regarding to my notes, I had about the soil microbes and stuff, things written down, and kind of what I had already said, mostly. I think yeah, I've said most of that about and Lynn and you kind of we together really have said about like no-till and about like working together with the soil microbes and creating space for them, and that they like take care of there's like this network of microbes that then take care of it of each other and the plants and work together. It's like and even like microbes or like if you have like a good like or microbial system going in the soil, meaning you haven't tilled it to death or something, that they take care of the microbial system being like healthy, like to get rid of like the nasty bacteria that would harm the plants too much, because they rely on the on the plants and the other good bacteria too, and like the mushrooms, and same with the mushrooms.
Yeah, it's a very interconnected system with all of that. And also, what I could still add is like also the synthetic fertilizers damage those microbiology in the soil. So it's not just the pesticides, but those are, I guess, the worst. But it's all harmful for them. And then ways of like binding carbon more effectively in farming would be to have more diverse plants. So that's one more reason to move from monocropping to more diverse fields, is because it would then also bind carbon. And you would get actually, there was an experiment, the Jenna experiment, that they found that when they were growing 8 different plants on a same space as one plant, they would then compare those. So they compared the amount of carbon that was bound, and then also the crop, the crop of it. So both were like, the amount of diversity made it that it bound more carbon, and even the yields are bigger. So there's no reason why not to move into that kind of thinking more and to experiment with it. I find it very fascinating. Yeah, I think we touched most of my notes in some sense. I had a lot about the aging farmers too, and how the young farmers need land, and yeah, I think we touched most of it pretty well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I just thought of something still, but regarding like, I guess like with regards to like CO2, it's not just CO2, but it's also like nitrogen, and it's like there's this like these nitrogen fixing plants, and they work together with certain bacteria too, and like there's certain bacteria in general that like do that, and also with like the carbon and stuff like that. I think it's also that a lot of like the plant material gets like shipped off somewhere to like be burnt or like made into like whatever other product, but it's like shipping off all this like material that could actually become humus, forming like a good like top layer, and like the humus is necessary, or like the dead plant material becoming humus is necessary for like there to be like a rich soil. And if you take away all the dead plant material, like it's taking away all these all of the stuff that could have fed the system, and become humus, and then you have all these bacteria taking care of all of this stuff, and then making sure that you get like all of these nutrients back to the plants. And yeah, I think that's still something that I wanted to like add to it. The the soil humus, like how that's like very important. And also with like the cover crops and all these different crops and like perennial plants too, that it keeps the soil like there too, like the topsoil, and it doesn't like go away or something, that it like it gets taken away and then this goes into like the water, because you lose all the nutrients that way.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Leaches it all out.
Yeah. Yeah. And I kind of feel like maybe that's why they had these, used to have all these hedges and all these other things there too, to like keep keep it all there, and create like this habitat space, because they would have it all over and they would be all connected too. So there's like would have been like a mosaic of a little farm fields with different crops, with all these hedges going on, and all the birds and animals and other and insects that could go like through the hedges, and they would be able to like live there too, and like the bees would have like for instance, would have like flowers and other plants to like pollinate while there are no crops yet, or like like, or flowers to pollinate, or when there are crops, for instance, that don't need pollinating anymore, that they have something to eat, and stuff like that. And like, and the birds too, like they eat a lot of the what a lot of farmers, I guess, would see as pests. They take care of that, but they need habitat for that. Because if you have just like just the monoculture crop, just only corn, for instance, like how you were saying, Neirum.
Yeah.
It's there's no space there for the birds or for all the other animals and critters.
No.
And it reminds me of like one thing. It was in the Netherlands, something, because in the Netherlands they have been like removing in some areas. There are still remainders of like the hedgerows and all these things that used to be there, but in some areas they don't have that anymore, and they have a massive problem with mice. There's so many mice eating all their corn and their grains and all of the other stuff that they're chewing and munching on, and it's like an explosion. Yeah, and they have an explosion of mice, and then they're like, and these mice, they don't they freak out, and they try to do all these different things. But if they would have kept the hedgerows and these other things, and then and that it would have been connected to the forest and stuff like that, then they would have had some space for maybe owls and all kinds of birds, and they would have kept those. They would have kept those mice in check. And you wouldn't have that like boom of mice, because you just gave the mice a fucking paradise. No predators,
right.
Plenty of food, and then they're like, "Oh yeah, baby, let's fuck and eat this shit."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's interesting. You bring that up. Mice and humans are very connected, and humans have gotten rid of all of our predators. I'm not saying to bring them back or anything, but there really is nothing to keep us in check until we make things so complicated that it falls apart. We're our own worst enemy in that regard. So I guess there is a natural check with that, but I don't know. I don't know where I'm going with that. I guess I was just thinking, that sounds like humans. We don't have we're kind of all over the place, doing this monoculture, and then we have all these other problems that arise out of that. I guess is what becomes our natural predator. A bunch of little problems that gnaw at us until everything kind of falls apart and collapses.
Yeah.
And then the people left to pick
yeah.
up the pieces are the farmers that are outside of all of that complexity.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of makes me think of something I had said like to Lynn some days ago, I think, about like how, I don't know, like with the soil and the farming and like a lot of other problems that are going on, that I kind of feel like that, well, people knew this shit already all the way back in like the 60s, 70s. There were already people talking about all of this stuff. And I kind of feel like we kind of have like we had these little snakes going on, like the little problems, basically the little snakes, and people have been, or let's say people tried to warn people about it, but then they weren't heard. And then people were ignoring it, and they were just like, yeah, monocropping, man, monocropping. And then they just kept going, and they kind of have let this like tiny snake become like this massive monster because they didn't look at it. And
Yeah.
And it's now become like and it can potentially become like the fucking world serpent here to swallow us all. And that kind of thought came to me, or like the Fenrir, the wolf. Like he used to be very small, like a small little wolf, and then they just locked him up somewhere and ignored him, and then he grew bigger and bigger and bigger till he came and swallowed them all. And I I think I understand the lesson of the story now. It's like don't let that happen. If there's these um, problems, and you become like, yeah, just, and you just think out of your arrogance or whatever. It's like, yeah, I can ignore this. It's like soil, meh. I can just pump these chemicals in and it's fine or
What would have
something.
happened if they would have been nice to Fenrir? What would have happened if they would have let him come in the house and hang out? Probably would have helped him. Probably would have helped him hunt and keep all the other monsters at bay. But
Yeah,
that's not what happened.
yeah, but
Neglected the predator side. I
yeah,
guess the predator side of life, which is a necessity to keep all these other things in check. And since we don't have a natural predator anymore, we have to check ourselves, or something else will. It always does, and it'll hurt, and a lot of people will die anyway, from societal collapse, stagnation, too much complexity, as happened with Greece, Rome, Egypt, India, and all the dynasties of China. We've got it all written down. We've even got it carved into stone. But we don't want to listen. We don't want to listen to ourselves.
but yeah, I don't know. That's just one thought that I had. I don't know if you have something to say, Lynn, or Neirum, about like soil still. Before we dive too deep in like this mythology and all kinds of unrelated things.
It's all related.
I was just gonna say that. It's all related. Yeah. Well, I just want to say again that it's very necessary to do this shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think that it is pretty clear, and it should be clear for everyone, and we just need to do it somehow.
One stock trade at a time. Then we can get to farming. Get out here in the sunshine again.
Yeah.
Be humans instead of weird caged animals in the city. Eating corn.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be eating corn all day. What's going
no.
on?
I mean, if we ignore the problem long enough and the soil is completely like nope, the city people will be like the Romans, like you had said in like one time about how the barbarians were mercifully killing the Romans that went like insane because they started eating each other or something. I think you had said something like that. But yeah.
Yeah. Well, what happened is the barbarians and the truckers of Rome, the people with the buggies shipping the food into Rome, stopped, and they closed the roads down. And since Rome needed that complexity of the roads and all the outside farms and all their slaves, it all fell apart just because they closed the road down or knocked down some bridges. That's not a very robust system. Oh, you think you're so advanced with your cities. Okay, what happens if you knock down a bridge or two? You're fucked. You don't know how to grow your own food. You don't know what to do. And even a flood or a hurricane or a tornado can do this. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to be barbarians knocking everything down. Or a solar flare, like what happened in Canada, 10 years ago. They all lost their electricity for years. It took years to fix their power grid. But, oh no, it's the future. Let's keep going. Okay. Good luck with that. But soil, let me think. Yeah, we just got to leave it alone, and it'll take care of itself. It'll start growing its natural biome and have its natural balance in there. The problems always arise when we think we can do it better, and we can't. It's already perfect. That's all. That's the shift of consciousness we need to make. It's perfect. It's already figured it out for us. All we got to do is watch and listen and see how the seasons change and go with it. It's not a straight line. It's a wiggly, wobbly line. And people don't want to do that. They think it's too much trouble. But it's a dance. It's a fun dance to do with nature. It's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
They think it's like they're enslaved to nature or something, but in fact, you're getting enslaved by the straight lines. That's the slavery. But
Yeah.
that's about all I've got to say about it, I guess.
Yeah, I think so, and I guess I have figured out what I'm or like really what what I really wanted to say with like my in the beginning about harness it that to harness it. Well, harness the flow.
Yeah.
I guess that's that's what I was searching for. Harness the flow of nature to be in that flow and work with the flow.
Yeah. We can learn a lot from water. How
Yeah.
many rivers do you see that are going in a straight line? You know, the river doesn't carve through the rock. It goes around the rock. Maybe it's a nicer walk that way too. You know, water is wise. Yep. Good points. Y'all had some good points. Yep.
But yeah, if none of you have anything more to say, then I think probably wrap this episode up.
Yep. I think we talked about soil, and we even talked about how we can get it into our hands, and when we do, what to do with it, and how to make it work for us instead of working against it. Yeah. Awesome podcast. Thanks for having me. I had a good time.
I had a lot of fun today. Thanks.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, likewise. It's always nice to have you on, Neirum. You too, Lynn.
Yeah, always nice to visit y'all in this digital space. It's cool we can do that
Oh
across
yeah,
the planet.
agreed.
Very cool.
And yeah, and for you, people who haven't yet, maybe check out Nyrum's channel. Maybe Lynn's channel too, if you're interested
Yeah.
in nature and poetry.
Yeah, my YouTube channel is Boom Shroom. BOOMSHROOM. 2 words. And usually I'll pop up.
Yeah. I'll make sure to like leave link in the description of this episode.
Right on. Thanks, man.
Yes. Okay. Well, bye bye, everyone.